But Jenks, we look at the odds for the World Series, and maybe the world is a magical place and somebody can beat the Dodgers this year. Right now, it does not feel like it because the Dodgers looked absolutely dominant on their way to the World Series. They made quick work last series against the Brewers. They swept them and looked like they did it with their hands behind their backs and just, cruising into the World Series. So now we have the Dodgers minus 220. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays, it took them all 7 games to advance past the Mariners. So I will say this, from a logic standpoint, the advantage already goes to the Dodgers because they're going to be rested. Their starters are going to be on their normal schedule. Like, we don't have starters listed for game 1 just yet, but I would imagine it's either Yamamoto or Blake Snell, both which were, lights out in their games in the NLCS. And the relief corps should be very rested. Like, even to the point where maybe it's too rested because, like I said, Blake Snell and Yamamoto went so deep in those games that they barely even had to use the bullpen in the NLCS, and they only had 4 games. But I will say this. The reason that we watch sports is because sometimes the unthinkable can happen. And we see these David versus Goliath stories all the time. And just because you have the biggest payroll in the sport does not mean you're going to be guaranteed a World Series win. Like, a lot of times it guarantees that maybe you're going to have a great season, as we've seen the Dodgers be an absolute staple in the postseason for what feels like the last 15 years. But I think it is a little simplistic to say that the Blue Jays do not stand a chance. I'm not sure if they're going to win it, but I think they have a chance.
Oh, they absolutely have a chance. You just never know. It's baseball. And when you look at the series price, the Dodgers are minus 220, which isn't crazy. You know what I mean? Of course, they're going to be a heavy favorite. And also, there's a little extra juice. You're always paying a bit of a premium on the Dodgers anyway because of the Dodgers, because there's that brand name. But this isn't a crazy price on the Dodgers to win at all, which is just to say that the Blue Jays absolutely have a shot. They have the bats to match up with the Dodgers. They don't necessarily have the pitching. But one thing we do know with LA is that if their starters don't go long, you can get to their bullpen. And again, it's baseball. So guys can go cold. Lineups can go cold. Pitchers can get hot. Pitchers can lose it and get absolutely shelled early. So Toronto didn't just, make its way here by beating a bunch of bottom feeders. They beat the Yankees. They came all the way back to beat the Mariners, another good team. They deserve to be here. They can absolutely win this series.
Yeah, I think if there's a team that can slug with the Dodgers, it's definitely the Blue Jays because right now they're averaging more runs per game in the postseason than any other team that was even in the postseason. And obviously they're one of the last 2 teams standing, but more runs per game than the Dodgers, averaging more than 6 runs a game. So if anybody can slug with the Dodgers bats, it's probably the Blue Jays. Yeah. Am I saying that they're going to win those games that Blake Snell and Yamamoto pitch? Not necessarily, but this is a 7-game series. So I do think that they stand a chance, and maybe you can look at the series prices for games played, but like the juice is kind of throwing me off just because over 5.5 games in the series is minus 165. It's a little too juicy for me to play.
Yeah.
Under 5.5, I think if you think the Dodgers dominate, maybe that's the way to go, where you can have like the Dodgers in a gentleman sweep where, okay, the Blue Jays have 1 game where they win and it goes to 5 games. But still, I happen to think that I think we might get 6 games in this series. Okay. It just feels like the Blue Jays are playing with so much confidence right now. Yeah. And we see this all the time in baseball where momentum matters. A team just catches fire. And I know that's not really the case for the Blue Jays because they've been good all season long. But still, the way in which they won Game 7 and with all the fans behind them, it just feels like we were saying this about the Mariners, how they felt like a team of destiny. Now it kind of feels that way for the Blue Jays. And plus they have hitters that are on fire right now. Yeah. Like we were just talking about George Springer. He had the big home run in the game last night. He was the World Series MVP in 2017 when the Astros took down who? The Dodgers. So if anybody knows how to do damage against the Dodgers, it's certainly George Springer, now 3rd all-time on the career postseason home runs list. And then the series that Vladdy Jr. had. Like, who's seeing the ball better than him? Very few players. So it just feels to me like the confidence is there for the Blue Jays. I don't think they're coming into this series saying, oh, we'll be lucky to win 1 game. I feel like the Blue Jays are coming in with a ton of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, they have nothing to lose. I know I say this, but everyone expects the Dodgers to win, right? The pressure is on the Dodgers to repeat. They're the first team to go back to the World Series when they won the World Series since 2009, which I believe is when the Phillies did it. And no one is going into this series, at least most casual experts are saying, yeah, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers. They have the better team on paper. They have been the better team. There's a reason why they just rolled through the postseason. So if you're the Blue Jays, you're playing with house money, and you've shown a lot of resilience along the way. That's the one thing you have to feel good about if you're Toronto, is that even if you go down against the Dodgers, you can say, well, guess what? We were just here against a very good Seattle team, by the way. So we were just at this point. We were down 0-2, and we were down at home. We went on the road, came all the way back, and then they rallied in a Game 7. So Toronto is playing with about as much momentum as you can be playing with right now. And also, look, it always helps to have rest, but I feel like in a situation like this, particularly in baseball, when you play 162 games a year, like, it's better to have the momentum, frankly. So I'm not going to be surprised if the Dodgers win. But if you're Toronto, you get a couple days rest, and you're right back at it. And they're the ones who probably have a better chance of staying hot than the Dodgers because they need to get hot again.
Right. Sometimes it feels like it's not an advantage to be sitting around for too long. So the fact that the Dodgers swept and, they've been waiting around, and sometimes I think it helps pitchers, but it hurts hitters. Because even if you're taking batting practice, it's not the same thing as taking like meaningful at-bats in games against live pitching. So maybe that's the sabotage factor. Maybe the Blue Jays can steal, I don't know. Even after I think about it, though, that's going to be the toughest pitching matchup for the Blue Jays, is like the Game 1 and Game 2. Well, then you get to Glasnow, and then you get to Ohtani. So then it's like you're back at square one. We're like, the Blue Jays have a chance, right? Let's look at the starting rotation. Blake Snell, absolutely dominant. Yamamoto, absolutely dominant. Tyler Glasnow, very, very good. Yeah. Oh, Ohtani, the greatest baseball player of all time, who's coming off 6 shutout and 10 punch-outs last game. Oh, and 3 home runs when he's starting that game as well. I try to talk through it, Jenks.
It's
tough. Man. The Dodgers are favored for a reason.
Yes, they are. And look, the Dodgers should win this series. The Dodgers are more talented. The Dodgers put on an absolute clinic. But also, I don't know if the Dodgers can play a whole lot better. That's the thing, too. So maybe they can, and if they do, they're untouchable. You cannot beat LA, and that's the one frustrating thing that you have to be worried about if you're Toronto, is that as much resilience as Toronto has shown, the Dodgers can't play a whole lot better because they haven't really had to touch their bullpen, which is maybe the one little weakness that they have, because their starters have been going so deep into games. And then what happens? Shohei, who won the NLCS MVP essentially on one game, and he should have, suddenly awakens, which we knew that was going to happen. So now the Dodgers are coming into this series hitting on all cylinders. Like, they are playing their best baseball of the season at the perfect time. So it's easy to make a case for the Dodgers, but you never know.